What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going through our full cube collection. Alright, so this is probably going to be a pretty long video today. We're going to be going through each of these cubes one by one, so if you guys have any questions on them, leave them in the comments. If you guys want extended reviews, also leave those in the comments. I respond to everything, so make sure you put your questions, comments in there. With that being said, I put a link of timestamps right here so you guys can see where each section is. Without further ado, let's start off with the 2x2s. So you guys probably saw this and were wondering what this is in the case. And if you don't know, this is an original plastic Dyan 2x2. These are pretty rare to come by, and luckily I was cubing long enough to be able to snag one of these off the bat. Right now I just keep it in one of my extra cases, but it's a super cool addition to the collection. This is my Moyu Weisu, I believe. This is a pretty decent 2x2. It's not magnetized and it came out a couple years ago. I don't solve much 2x2, but it gets the job done for me. All right, next up, we have 3x3s. Let me know in the comments if there's any cubes that you haven't heard of yet, but if you're a huge 3x3 fan like me, you should know most of these. First off, we have one of my first speed cubes. This is the original plastic Dyan Zanchi re-stickered with half-price stickers from the cubicle. It's a pretty decent cube for what it was back in the day, and it doesn't have much catches or corner pops. Mine, unfortunately, being the young speed cuber I was back then, modified the inside of the pieces with sandpaper, but still super cool cube to have in the collection. Next, we have something a little more modern. This is the RS3M Super, I believe. If you haven't seen a review yet on this, I highly recommend it. Great bang for the buck, great speed cube overall. Next, we have the Cyclone Bois metallic 3x3. This isn't a great speed cube, but it's really cool to have in the collection. Next, we have my GAN 11M Pro. And if you guys haven't been on the channel for long, you'll know that I'm gonna be shooting this cube real soon, which is gonna be super cool. We'll be shooting it in slow motion and have a whole video up for that coming soon. All right, next up here, we have the Cong's Design Meiying. This cube was kind of an experimental brand, I think by Moyu, so Cong's Design. If you guys didn't know, this is my main. I accidentally bought this in white, and I hate white cubes, but it's just such a good cube that I can't go without it. Next up, mini 3x3s. These are just like $1 on the cubicle. I don't know much about them, but they don't turn very good. Other than that, they're pretty cool to have in the collection. Next up, we have the Fangshi Guangying Illusion Cube. And again, I've got this in a clear plastic box just to preserve the stickers a little bit. This cube came out maybe 12 years ago and is kind of a variation of the Fangshi Guangying version 1. And I'll kind of get this out to show you. So if you look on the inside, it's got all this, well, first off, it's kind of got plastic sitting in there. I need to clean that out, but it's got these pieces with caps on them. So basically it's a white cube interior with caps, and just kind of looks cool. Other than that, there's nothing too special with this besides that they didn't make a ton of them. So if you have one of these, it's probably worth a ton of money. So put it in a little box. All right, next up, we have the Yuxin Kylin 3x3. I'm not gonna lie, Yuxin always has been to me a budget-friendly cube option, but their cubes really suck. I actually really like the Kylin. It's got these little tiles on the piece, it's magnetized, and it flows really good. And for under $10, this is an absolute steal. Next up, we have my modded Rubik's brand. This is one of the Rubik's brand cubes from 1980. I got it to turn pretty all right. I have it re-stickered with GAN stickers, which kind of are pretty beat up. These are old GAN stickers, by the way. But you can definitely see I've done some modifications to these pieces. And this was my first Rubik's Cube I ever had / solved. I didn't have any money back in the day, so my only option was to really mod this cube. So pretty cool. Next up, we have another white stickered cube. This goes again to cubicle messing up my order, but this is some kind of Yuxin. I forget what kind. I've never really loved this cube, but I know this may be a 10-year-old Yuxin cube, and it's pretty all right. I just remember overpaying for this cube and just not loving it, so. Next up, we have the Moyu Weilong V2 M. I think I said that right. Everyone has one of these. It's a light, pretty cool cube. It turns pretty well. Can't argue with that. Next up, we have a cube from the Speed Cube shop. Honestly, really love these cubes. This one I have lubed up with, I think it's like weight 3 on the interior and then some of the Martian cube on the exterior from Speed Cube shop. Pretty dang good. I really like this cube. Next up, we have the Huaming. Everyone's got one of these too. I did not get the ball core version. I tried one of them out and just didn't love the feeling of it. But, you know, I think this is the magnetized version, not the ball core. It's a good cube, pretty good all around. I can't argue with the price for what you get. Very decent. All right, so this is something I'm curious to know if some of you have heard about. This cube's kind of broken right now. I'm working on fixing it. I'm trying to restore a couple old cubes, but this is the Thunderclap version 1 is what this cube actually is. But if you guys didn't know, a brand called Newisland used to work with Qiyi and made this cube called the Newisland Phoenix, which was actually a complete replica of the Thunderclap V1, but for a cheaper price. Next up, we have one of my most expensive cubes to date. I think this costs like $75 back in the day because of the Cubicle Lab sticker there. This is the Weilong V2M, one of my first magnetized cubes, and I got the Cubicle Labs treatment done to it. Was it worth the money? Absolutely not. Is it pretty good? Yeah, I'd say so. Not my main though. Next up, this is something pretty special to me. This was my cube I used to break the Nebraska State Championship record for Rubik's Cube with a solve of 14 seconds. I know, it's not that impressive these days, but this cube does mean a lot to me. So this is my Moyu Along V2 M. So I went ahead and put magnets in this a couple years ago, and I modified the pieces just a little bit. You can see they're sanded down here just to give it a little extra flow. That with my special lubricant I've been kind of producing to make this cube so good. Oh boy, that was a horrible turn, but pretty dang good cube. It's outperformed by some of the newer stuff, but absolutely recommend this. Next up, Qiyi Thunderclap version 2. Good cube, very light feeling. I hate the colors on this. The green's just not right. The red's, you know, it looks okay on camera, but it's just way too bright. It almost looks pink in person, but the rest of the colors look fine. All right, cube. Next up, we have the Fangshi Guangying. Really cool cube again, and you can see they used caps for the pieces. Again, I got this cube in white. Cubicle, quit messing up my order. I ordered like 7 or 8 cubes, maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I got this, and they all came white. Cubicle didn't want to do anything about it, so I was just stuck with these white cubes. Nonetheless, pretty good cube. Next up, we have one of the original Rubik's Cubes from 1980. This one is not modified and still has the original stickers. That mixed with some Vaseline on the inside still makes it a crappy cube. Next up, we have another Rubik's brand. This one was modified by me as well, but I had to put some Play-Doh in this piece back in the day to fill it up just because the piece broke off. This one's pretty similar to the other Rubik's brand I modded, but they're both pretty crappy, but in different ways. Next up, I believe this is the WRM. Whatever it is, I know I got this cube from Moyu. I really like this cube. I need to figure out what it is. I'll let you guys know. Next up, we have another RS3M. I don't know what this sticker is, but it's pretty good. I bought this along with 3 other RS3Ms and no other ones came with this sticker. So if you guys know what that is, let me know in the comments. Next up, Yuxin Little Magic 3x3. It's trash. Next, we have my 2013 GAN 3. This was the first cube produced by GAN. It's got those circle center caps like GAN used to be known for, and it had an octopus core, which is super cool in a GAN cube. It's a really good cube, but cubicle, white cube, bad. All right, that's enough said. Finally, my last 3 3x3s are in this bag, and you'll know if you saw my last video. This RS3M was lubed with mustard, and these 2 Qiyi cubes were lubed with guacamole and ranch. But they smell so bad, so I put them in this bag. Next up, 3x3 shape mods. These 2 cubes are super cool. They're the fruit cubes. If you haven't seen them yet, you're probably sleeping under a rock, so make sure you figure out what they are. They're really cool. Next, we've got the Tornado 3x3. Again, I don't know what brand this came from. Super cool cube, and if you don't know how to solve parity on 3x3, especially when you get your center caps mixed up, you know, maybe it's something you look at. I think it's like $3 or something. Really cool cube to have. Next, we have my, I believe this is the Shengshou mirror cube. It's really cool. It was my first mirror cube, but you can see there's no gaps in the pieces, so it's pretty hard to turn, especially if you have the layers misaligned just a little bit. No corner cutting whatsoever, so cool to have, not cool to speed solve. Next up, we have my windmill cube. This cube is pretty fun to solve, and again, you can get parity on this because the center caps are like kind of tilted at an angle. This cube came super loose and kept popping, as well as the center caps falling out. So I went ahead and just tightened them and then Gorilla glued the center caps in. So if you see like a little bit of stuff there, it's still me trying to get the extra glue out of there. But cool cube to solve, really impressive if people see you solving it. Next up, one of my favorites, this is the Lego Rubik's Cube 3x3. I know it's not really a shape mod, but I think it's really cool, and it's not necessarily a normal Rubik's Cube. I've gotten a lot of cool looks and questions about this when people see me solving it in public, but the only issue is corner cutting backwards kind of sucks, so you gotta have the layers pretty aligned. And there's no speed cubing this. This is really hard cube to be good at fast. See, I'm barely misaligned right there, and it's still catching pretty bad, but pretty cool cube. And then next, I'm not gonna really show you guys this cube. This is my Mefforts Ghost Cube, I believe. It kind of fell apart, and they're so freaking hard to reassemble. So it just kind of sits in this bag for now. Next, we have 4x4s and bigger cubes here. I guess we'll start ahead in order here. This is my Moyu Weisu. This was my first 4x4. It's a pretty bad cube. I've never had such a bad cube by Moyu. But back in the day, it was like $30 cheaper than the, I think it's the Asu or Osu, whatever you all call it. But you know, it's the cheaper version. You're young, you don't have a lot of money. So I got this cube. I think these are MFJS 4x4s. I'm sorry, I don't know a ton about 4x4s, but the stickerless one is really good. This one also is pretty good, but you know, after you've been using stickerless cubes for a long time, it's hard to go back to stickered. This is a Moyu 5x5. I'm not quite sure what the name is. I think it started with an A, but I know it's not the Oshi. That's the 6x6, but it's really good. This was my first 5x5. I think they still make this style. Mine doesn't have magnets in it, but still really cool to have. 6x6, again, I don't know what brand this is. They don't come with stickers, and if you throw away the box, you know, 5-6 years later, you kind of forget what it is, but it's not great. You can speed cube it, but it pops quite a bit. Whatever it is, don't recommend it. Get something real nice off the bat. 7x7, we have the same MFJS 7x7. One of my biggest gripes with this, and I'll show it here next to the same brand. Oh man, you can't even see it on camera, but this green is a lot more pure and kind of what you'd expect out of like, you know, any stickerless cube. This is like the normal color scheme. This one's like super bright for no reason, and I don't know what that is. Everything else seems pretty close, if not fine. I mean, orange is a little brighter on here, but I think green was just my biggest issue with it. It just looks weird. 8x8, I got this cool one I solved and wrote a lot of you guys' names on it a while ago. I think this is a Shengshou. I guess it's kind of hard to see. I don't know too much. If you know what this is, let me know. It's a lot bigger than a normal cube. Let me know what this is in the comments. Next up, 9x9. We got that same MFJS. I really like their brand. Pretty quality stuff for how decently priced it is. Solves really well. Just takes a long time. That's why it's not solved right now. All right, next we have other WCA puzzles. This is my Shengshou Square-1. I lied. It's a Yuxin Square-1. I don't know how to solve Square-1, as you can tell, but I really tried. It's just hard. Yeah. Pyraminx, we have this really cool, I think it's the Shengshou Pyraminx. Ugh. I'm not great at Pyraminx, but it does the job for me. It's got ball bearings in it, which was my first Pyraminx with ball bearings, so super cool with that. Next up, this is something pretty cool. So this is the box to my old Pyraminx, but I have something else in here I'm not sure you guys have seen before. So this cruddy looking old Pyraminx is actually the first Pyraminx that Rubik's ever made. Mine's kind of in pieces right now because I'm working on restoring it. And by working on restoring it, I mean I haven't started yet, but I want to soon. So as you can see, these stickers are like pretty matte. They're almost like that scratchy stuff that you turn and it's one picture and then you turn and it's another picture. It reminds me a lot of that. Oh, I guess I did have ball bearings on this, but this is my first Pyraminx. And the issue with this kind of is that the edge goes through the, I guess you call these centerpieces. The edge goes through here, but this is all stripped out. And so whenever I have it together, it just kind of falls apart. So working on fixing that, and then a couple other things like these pieces that are just absolutely shredded. There shouldn't be a gap here if you guys didn't know, but working on fixing that. Something really cool. One thing to note with this is instead of yellow, they had this gold color. Again, really cool. First Pyraminx ever. All right, next up, we kind of have odds and ends of puzzles. First one here is the banana cube. This is super hard to solve. It's a 2x2x3 shape mod. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I get this weird parody where these corners are flips. They need to switch up. Anyways, really cool cube, draws a lot of attention, hard to solve, at least for me. Next up, we have the Yuxin Treasure Box. Mine is scrambled up right now because it's pretty broken. I can open the top, but right when I take it off, all the pieces fall off and it's super hard to put back together. So I just have it mixed up right now. And to me, it's pretty much just a large 3x3. Next, we have the Qiyi Super Floppy. Everyone's seen one of these. Cool cube, fun to solve. Anyone can solve it. Next up, we have the Rubik's Phantom. It's really hot in my house, and my AC died the other day. So this is kind of like already colored, but this is the Rubik's Phantom if you didn't guess it. The longer you put heat on these pieces, the more vibrant they get. Super fun solve, but once you solve it and all the colors are lit up, you might as well just solve a normal Rubik's Cube at that point. Here's something cool you guys probably haven't seen. It's a Rubik's snake, but this is the original Rubik's snake, 1980. I got this one from my dad, which is super cool. Again, anyone can solve this, but this is what the original color scheme looked like. Pretty cool. Next up, we have the ball of wax. This is kind of I think it's a Mefforts puzzle. Basically, these pieces have magnets in them, and they're pretty satisfying to put in. But the whole goal of this is kind of similar to the Rubik's snake. There's some way you can put these pieces together and turn it into a square. I've had this for a lot of years, and I still can't figure out how to do that. So pretty cool, pretty satisfying, and it just kind of looks cool for me. Finally, the last thing on here is the Dyan Mosaic 10x10. This is super stinking cool, and I can say I have 100 Dyan cubes. I think it was like $160 for this. I pretty much have it sitting up in my kitchen. It's kind of got like a prop thing on the back so I can put it at an angle, but I'm leaving it flat so you guys can see. This is the Tiger Dyan shows on their pictures. To make a mosaic on here, it takes about an hour. And I used to be doing a mosaic a day for my YouTube channel, which was super time consuming. But I just kind of have it sitting at this tiger right now, and it's super cool to me. All right, and that's all my cubes. But if you guys have stuck to the end of the video, I want to make you comment something so I know you're one of the OGs. So today's comment of the day is going to be dog, D-O-G. And if I see you in the comments, you're definitely getting a heart from me. So go ahead and put that in the comments if you made it towards the end. Why not subscribe while you're at it? With that being said, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.